He cares. I mean, he has a passion for the local history and in the area, and it just shows in everything that he does.
I was born in Wisconsin and spent the first 2 years of my life with my father when he was in the military. Other than that, I was always here. 76 years in Chestnut Hill, Mount Airy, Germantown. My parents were greatly affected by the Great Depression, and that stayed with them. You had to save things. You had to work hard. I did yard work and eventually construction work. The way I got into roofing was kind of an accident. After going in the Army and finishing my degree and becoming a teacher, and a good buddy was back from the Navy, and he needed a job, and they were hiring down the street. I talked him into going down to try and get the job, and I went with him, and before you know it, we both had a job from a roofing company. As a teacher, I have the summer off, I can make some money, and that was my plan. I started a company, and I decided that in the beginning I wouldn't work for any friends or relatives. I was going to make it ringing doorbells or not make it. It was learned by doing, and eventually, I would hire other people that knew something, or we'd work for architects and they'd teach us something, or I'd go into books and learn something. The business really grew, about 30 years ago, and we got doing work on universities. Planners of these jobs, they'd hire people to write very strict specification, and they made us do things a whole lot better than we were used to doing them.
I met Steve over 30 years ago at Haverford College. We were working on Lloyd Hall. Together we worked a lot with colleges, universities, churches, institutions that know they're going to be around for a very long time. Not only do they want to preserve the historic integrity of their buildings, but they want a roof that's going to last 50, 75, 100 or more years. Many firms shy away from historic preservation work, whereas Kurtz not only pursues it, but excels at it.
The reason that history and preservation is important is because there's so much that we can learn from it, and there's so much about our past that we can learn about it. When people build new construction today, it doesn't last, it doesn't hold up the way it does. And my buildings on site are over 300 years old, and it was because they were built with a technique and a craftsmanship that most new construction doesn't experience today.
Often the level of detailing is a magnitude higher than what we see in new construction. I've seen their detailing improve over the years, and what used to be kind of special detailing in the old days is now routine.
If I have any roofing issue on site, Steve is my first call every time. We recently restored our 1754 bakehouse. He donated all of the cedar shake shingles for the roof, and so that really made the project happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to afford to do it.
There are other contractors I've worked with over the years that just want to get it done. In Kurtz Construction's case, we want to get it done, but we want to get it done right.
When I got into roofing and I worked on lots of older houses, I gradually learned how things were done, 150 years ago.
I don't think that there's a local history or preservation organization in Germantown that Steve hasn't in some way been involved with, whether it's been sponsoring an event, attending an event, or just, volunteering his time. I think he's been involved in almost every single organization. One of the stories that I always hear from Steve is about how his grandmother's wedding dress is in the archives at historic Germantown. But he's very, very connected to the local community. I mean, not only is he a local businessman and runs his business here, you can't drive down the streets of Germantown or Chestnut Hill without seeing a Kurtz Construction sign.
I really believe when you can look at a particular time in history and sort of see how things were and what was available and how people worked and how much things cost, you appreciate more what was done then. I think Germantown would be a lot less if more of these historic houses were torn down. And if they're not maintained, it gets too expensive to keep. Every time we can restore these buildings, I feel better about it. I think other people do too. You can't save every building, but the ones that you can save, you should save.